Thank you for that, Ellie. Our next TED Talk is by Fefe Kazemi. She is from Los Angeles, and she is a disability rights advocate and a special education teacher. Her talk is called Changing Perceptions.
It's working. Hello, everyone. So like Hosna John said, I am a special education teacher. I've been doing this for a few years now. But when I first started, first decided to go into teaching, I heard a lot of comments like, that's admirable, that's respectable, that's a noble profession. When I would go on to explain that I would be in special education, I heard things like, oh, that should be fun. I would get questions like, so what do you guys do all day? Color? You paint macaroni pieces, you glue them on construction paper, and you make smiley faces? In Farsi, I heard, وقت خود ضایع نکن. امرای دیوانا چی میکنی? These comments reinforced for me what I already knew. Society views individuals with disabilities as less valuable. Communities everywhere have a negative perception of individuals with disabilities. Those that are differently abled are looked at with sympathy and as incapable of learning or accomplishing anything. But if you've ever listened to a song by Sarabon, you know that isn't true. He was a musical genius, and he was a person with a disability. A month before one of his biggest concerts in Kabul, Sarabon was found on a street corner in tattered clothing, an unkempt beard, and no one by his side. It was society's negative and inaccurate perception of individuals with disabilities that resulted in Sarabon's isolation and dire condition on that street corner in Kabul. But Sarabon had the ability to bring people together through his unique musical style and his unique voice. He contributed greatly to Afghan culture, and he is one of Afghanistan's treasures. When I think about the students I teach, I think about all of the ways they are able to contribute and make a difference in society, just as Sarabon did. I think about how they are so much more than just a special education eligibility. One day at work, when my kids were getting back to class after lunch, one of my students, Michael, he had trouble concentrating a lot that day. So I asked him to pay attention, Michael. He started taking coins out of his pocket. It took me a few seconds to understand what was going on. But he looked at me frustrated with 2 quarters in his hand, and he said, Miss Kazemi, I cannot pay. I only have 50 cents. You asked me to pay. Michael has autism. He takes things literally. This is something I already knew about him, though. So I said, oh no, Michael, I need you to focus. So he put his hands around his face so that his peripheral vision does not distract him, so that all he could see was me, and he asked, is this focused enough for you? Michael's autism is considered severe, but when he is focused, he could tell you the name of every single comic book superhero you could think of. He could build a Lego set all on his own, and he will defend you against any school bully. But that day, it was not Michael that misunderstood, but it was me who miscommunicated. Every day in our society, we ask people that are differently able to fit perfectly into a box, to communicate exactly like us, to feel a certain way, to behave a certain way, to process a certain way, and to understand us. And if they don't fit into this box, we are so quick to be dismissive and discerning. At my local masjid, one of my favorite people is a girl labeled as intellectually disabled. I sit next to her at each visit, and I listen to her recite Quran, and she can pronounce every word perfectly. And her du'as, they are even more beautiful. With every single Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim and Sirat al-Mustaqim, you can feel your soul move. But aside from attending masjid, she is isolated. She spends her days alone at home, There is not a community center that is accessible to her or one that is culturally aware and sensitive to her unique needs as a Muslim, as an Afghan, as an American, as someone that is differently abled. And even at masjid, most people have no idea that she has the ability to read the Quran in Arabic. Sometimes she is even greeted with pity and described with one word, diwana. Whether in English, Dari or Pashto, take a moment to think about the terminology used to describe individuals with disabilities and how that language affects attitude, perception, and action. When we see something that we don't like, we say, that's retarded. When we see something that doesn't make sense to us, we say, that's retarded. When one of our friends does something foolish, we jokingly say, oh, you're a different kind of special. Labels are powerful. Language is powerful. The next time the R word comes to mind, remember that it is hurtful, exclusive, and demeaning. Replace it with something else, maybe foolish, senseless, or absurd. Nearly half of the people killed by police are individuals with disabilities. Individuals with disabilities face a higher unemployment rate. They are more likely to be bullied and to be the victims of sexual abuse. Language affects attitudes, and attitudes affect action. And this can mean all the difference between life and death for those with disabilities. Whether it is Down syndrome, autism, depression, or ADHD, these things do not discriminate. It affects every community, including our own. Societies everywhere have failed to realize the potential of those that are differently abled. There's been a lack in accommodations and in accessibility, and we have failed to give and provide opportunities. We need to change our perceptions. I invite all of you with me to make a pledge to use respectful and inclusive language, to delete the R word from our vocabularies, to vote for policies and legislation that is not discriminating, and to challenge ourselves and those around us to acknowledge and value the abilities of all persons. When you take a moment to look a little deeper and beyond a label, you will find that the limitation is not in the person with a disability, but in society's limited vision. Thank you.